Well, went to all the trouble of removing my old line to replace it with the one from the junkyard, and I got to looking at it, and can you see the difference there? Here's my banjo bolt, goes in that one. It does not go in this one. So this one had a smaller banjo bolt get screwed into the transmission. So this line will not work. So I'm going to put the old line back in it. What I'm thinking about doing is doing a compression fitting. Either piece this one back together, or if there's a piece missing out of it, cut some of this out and doing a compression fitting. And of course the compressor will cut off. That would be a better option than this. I might leave this for now. Might look and see if I have a compression fitting. This didn't appear to be leaking. I don't like it, but like I said, it didn't appear to be leaking. It's a little on the long side. So we might need to push it in a little further. I think I have some transmission hose. I might take this off and flare the ends of this just a little bit, and then slip some actual, I don't know if they use transmission cooler line or not, but I might put transmission cooler line on it and then clamp it back, and that would, flaring the ends just slightly would prevent the hose from blowing off, and then you know, some good hose on it. But I might see if I have a compression fitting that size. They're probably metric, so I probably don't, but we'll see. Such is life. Alright, so we're going to make this work. So I found the piece of transmission cooler hose I had. It's 3/8. And this is metric. This is a 3/8 compression fitting I had, and it will not go in there or go over there. It's too small. And the next size up I have is too big. So it's definitely metric. I do not have any metric compression fittings, and have a feeling it'd be hard to find them. So pulled out my flaring tool. It's a double flaring tool. It's made for thin wall steel tubing, aluminum or copper, and this is thick wall steel tubing. So it's not the easiest thing, and of course I'm using a 3/8, which doesn't fit, which fits a little loose in there, so it doesn't make for the best things. And I did not do the double flare part. I did the first part, which is the part that bulges it out, and then the second part gets your inside. The problem is sometimes when you do this inside part, it splits the steel, and I don't care about the inside part. We don't have a sealing surface right there. We're using a hose, so all I want is that bulge right there, and that's what we've got. This one didn't go as cleanly as this one. That's a nice. That one went nice. And the ends of these are jagged. I cut them off. I don't know what, they probably used a hacksaw or something. I used my tubing cutter and cut them nice, and just give them a nice good cut. So now we've got these. That little bulge will keep the hose from coming off. So I think what we're going to do is go ahead and slip this up on there, and we will wait to cut our hose off until we get our line and everything on there. We got a new one of these because this one was leaking, so we'll go ahead and fix that up, and that way we can see where this needs to, or how long of a piece of rubber hose we need. I don't think we need much at all. They had this much. I think they pretty much cut it off where it was leaking. I think where it had one of these metal clamps, it wore down and started leaking. It actually, this, one of the ends, this one, looked like it was worn down. I think it wore down. Actually, it probably wasn't leaking. It looked like it had worn down, and then this end looked like it broke off. And so maybe it just wore thin, and then somehow, you know, maybe they got up against it with something and they broke it off. Maybe they were changing this hose out. I don't know. And you know, and just tried torquing on this without holding it back up, and started to undo this, and it just twisted it and broke it out right there, you know, where it had worn thin. I'm thinking that's probably what happened. So I don't think much had been cut off. I think it was pretty much like that. Now I've cut probably half an inch off, maybe an inch. These were the original ends. You can see that looks really thin and broken, jagged and broken. It looks like it broke out. Come on, focus. Well. There we go. You can see it. And then this end, see how it looks all worn and thin, especially right there. So I think that clamp just wore it. You can see it. Wore it thin, and it eventually they broke it somehow. So we're gonna get it all fixed up though, and I'm gonna find something to put back around these things, because they're metal to metal. The little rubber grommets are gone. This one's still there. I don't know, maybe I've got some good ones on that line. I don't think I do though, but we're gonna figure something out so that it's not metal to metal. And then we're missing one clamp that clamps it over by the oil pan, so we'll pull one clamp off of this one probably, so that it's clamped on this end. So let me get this back up in there. We'll get it fastened in and get our hose on here, and we'll see how long our rubber hose needs to be. Now this is a good fix. So, you know, we flared that end. You can feel the bump in it. There's no way that hose is coming off. I've got two, these are German made fuel injection clamps, style clamps. The return line for the return fuel line off the you know, coming back from the injection pump. I replaced that line, and when I did, I needed smaller clamps because the other line was thicker. So I had bought smaller clamps and put those on there. So these were a little bit larger. So I had these, and they fit perfect on this 3/8 transmission cooler line. Now the only thing I've got left to do, where this turned out where I wanted to put this clamp was right here. That leaves some flex still in the line. It also, this is a spring, you know, this line's wanting to push that this way. So I pushed this clamp all the way up to this shoulder, and it's going to bolt through right here. But this bolt goes up through this bracket, this AC line bracket, and then it's got a nut that goes on it that fastens this bracket down. So it was already a longer bolt, but when I put the spacer on it, because you're gonna have to run a spacer. If I don't do a spacer, then it puts the this line and this clamp into the oil pan. So it needs to be spaced down from the oil pan. And I tried doing a small, thinner spacer, and it really pushes into this clamp, and I was afraid it would eventually either split this hose or wear the clamp out because it's up against the oil pan. And so we're going to have to use the thicker spacer, but that makes the bolt too short. So I just put an extra bolt in it right now, one of the short ones, and I'll take this one with me, and I need to get one longer than this one, which may be difficult to get. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what we can do. So yeah, now what we've got left is I'm going to pull the transmission pan, and I still haven't decided. It depends on what the fluid looks. Well, we're not going to be able to really tell what the fluid looks like, except for maybe what's left in the pan. But on the dipstick, the fluid looks really good, and so I think we will not drain the converter. I don't want to shock the transmission too much, you know, with all new fluid. And like I said, it looks real good and clean. I don't know if it's just a good transmission and it's been, you know, it hasn't burned any fluid, or if it leaks and you know, they keep topping it off with fluid and so that makes it clean, or if somebody serviced it before. But if it's been serviced, it's been a long time ago. It's also overfilled, so it'll be good to drain it anyway. But we're going to go ahead and drain that out. It's got a plug. We'll try to get the drain plug out. If we can't, we'll you know, do what we can to try to not make a mess, but that's what we're doing next.